Welcome back to the WHTC Morning News for this Thursday, July 2nd. Thursday mornings, we have a chance to chat with Congressman Bill Huizenga. He joins us this morning. Looks like you're a busy man, Mr. Huizenga. Good morning.
Busy trying to get home. That's what I'm busy. Yes, I'm actually at the airport right now, and we'll be boarding shortly. But I wanted to keep this commitment.
I appreciate that, and we will try to be as prompt as we can as we talk to you about some of the issues of the day. First of all, stimulus package. Where are we standing with that? Looks like the president wants to get one passed, and whether or not it'll be directly to the taxpayers or it'll only be to businesses, hard to say right now.
Yeah, it is, and especially since the negotiations between Secretary Mnuchin, who has been the main negotiator for the administration, and Speaker Pelosi have broken down. It was the last report I was hearing. I had a conversation with one of the White House liaisons. They are very interested in, the president's very interested in getting something together. It's not going to be the $3 trillion package that had been passed 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's not going to look exactly like that $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill that was passed this week. By the way, it came out of that bill, that particular infrastructure bill, came out of committee at $500 billion, and Speaker Pelosi ballooned it to added $1 trillion. So they made it 3 times the size. So it's not going to be those, but we're looking at extensions of that Paycheck Protection Program, which has been very successful. That had run out. There may be an extension of the unemployment insurance. We've been having conversations. I brought it up with in a hearing earlier this week with Secretary Mnuchin and Chairman Powell of the Fed. About some of the effects that I hear back from West Michigan about the $600 per week kicker potentially being a disincentive for folks returning back to work, and so we've got to figure out how to modify that in my opinion to make it more effective and to encourage people to get back to work. But will there be one? I think there probably will be. Will it be in July yet? We are off for the 4th of July. We'll be back in at the end of July, and we'll see where negotiations are at that point. But it's going to have to be obviously both the House, the Senate, and the Speaker and the President, all agreeing. Otherwise, this thing isn't going to go anywhere.
Now, Bill, okay. I'll get you. I hear the call right quick, so I'll ask you.
Yeah, and actually, they just changed gates on me. So.
Okay. As you stride about the reports, and I'm going to read from my wire service right now. The White House isn't planning to take any action on reports of Russian bounties on U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan. The Washington Post says that's because President Trump doesn't think the reports are true or actionable. The news that Moscow may have been paying the Taliban to kill Americans grabbed headlines this week. Mr. Trump has dismissed it as fake news. Your take on this particular story and whether or not the actions of the White House on this is something that needs to be looked at.
The NSA director said he was not briefed. The CIA folks said that all of that information rises up to the Director of National Intelligence, the DNI. That then decision, the briefer, not the directors, the briefer decides whether this is something that gets to the president, and it happens to be a female briefer that is in every single day. Interestingly enough, I had dinner last night with a new colleague of mine. His name is Mark Green, Congressman Mark Green, from Tennessee. He's a medical doctor, but he is also an Army Ranger and Special Operations doctor. He was the doctor that was with the SEALs and Delta Force when they captured Saddam Hussein. He's had extensive well, let's say this guy's the real deal when it comes into this. And we were talking about this last night, and he was explaining how this works. He was like, we get intel on the ground all the time as commanders. He ended up being a major. So as commanders of people that are on the ground, the operators, they will get information that, hey, we think it might be this, we think it might be that, this is a rumor that's going on. Watch out for this, but we don't know what's really happening. Just because it is actionable on the ground does not necessarily mean it rises to the level of getting briefed into the Intel Committee, or in which both the House and the Senate get those same information, get much of the same information that the president does, the vice president does. Certainly the speaker and the majority leader get even higher level of information. It did not rise. Gary, you can't verify it. I can't verify it. Peg can't verify it. Nobody can verify this. We have to go with what we are hearing from folks. What we do know is that there has been concerted efforts in the past. Just think about the Russia hoax leaks about the election coordination. We know that there have been people intentionally trying to get word out, and it hasn't been necessarily true. So where the truth is in all this, we'll find out. But I let professionals, and I know that there are some very good people there. Pete Hoekstra spent years on the Intel Committee, and he'd tell you the same thing. That there are people having to make judgment calls on what information is relevant, what's true, what's actionable, and those kinds of rumors going back. This was one of the things that Congressman Green was saying. Back when he was operating, and then after that, he had been very close with General Mattis and some others. He was saying, look, we have so much of this coming at us all the time. It's hard to filter through what is actually true and what's not. So at the end of the day, I think that they are probably, the White House is right about this, and it's unfortunate that we are seeing folks just trying to make more political hay here.
Zeeland Congressman Bill Huizenga, there's a couple of things I want to touch base with you on, but I'm going to hold off on that until next week, as I know that you want to get home for the 4th of July weekend, and we certainly appreciate those sentiments. Thank you very much for joining us today on WHTC. Have a safe trip home, and let's do this again next Thursday morning. Thank you, sir.
All right. Sounds good, Gary. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. That's Zeeland Congressman Bill Huizenga on Real News Now, 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.